Dumilan Samulani, welcome back to the Real Streetwise Financial Talk. Once again, this is your boy Calvin, your StrutMed investor. And thank you once again, guys, for joining me. This marks the final episode of our credit series. It's been a nice journey, a wonderful journey. Thank you for being there every step of the way. Today, we're pretty much going to tie up everything and everything that we've discussed with regards to credit is going to make sense, bring it all together, and actually discuss why we've been discussing about credit, why I love it so much, why I think it's so relevant to everyone. So enjoy. As always, I'm not a financial planner, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a simple guy who's made his mistakes, who's trying his best to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes, just get the knowledge out there as best as I can. And another thing you need to know, this channel is sponsored by our friends at Click. Please check them out, follow the link. Exciting, guys, and I promise you will not regret it. So yeah, the power of credit, guys. That's what we'll be discussing today. That's what we'll be using to bring it all together, to tie it all together. And to dive straight into it, I want you to understand that there's two types of credit, right? There's good credit and there's bad credit. And whether credit is good or bad for you is purely dependent on your behavior towards credit, right? I always make an example, guys. Just like money and just like any other tool, you can decide whether to do good with it or bad with it. So credit is just a tool, right? It's a tool just like money is a tool, just like a screwdriver is a tool. I mean, a screwdriver, you can decide to go fix something with it, or you can go decide to go hurt someone with it. So it's really up to you how you behave with it, your attitude towards it. So I want you to forget about the false assumption that has been taught to us all these years to say that credit is bad, right? Growing up our entire lives, the parents have been telling us credit is bad, credit is bad. So today, or rather the past episodes have taught you, have shown you that it's not necessarily bad, it's your attitude towards it, right? I'll give you an example. So an example of bad credit, guys, it's any credit that takes money out of your pocket. So as long as it's not helping you improve your financial position, improve your wealth, and it's taking money and it's leaving you poor, then it's bad credit, right? And on the other side of things, you've got good credit, which is money that's actually helping you grow in wealth, that's putting money into your pocket, it's helping you get richer, right? And that's good credit, right? And I'll give you an example, right? If you go and you open up a clothing account, right, with any clothing store, Edgar's, Ackerman's, you name it, right? And you go and you take clothes on credit, right? Now, the question you need to ask yourself, will that help you increase your value? So will you buy those clothes on credit? Meaning that you're basically wearing clothes that you don't own, right? Are you getting richer? Or are you increasing your net worth in any way by you buying those clothes on credit? And if the answer is no, you're not, then it's bad credit because it's not helping you increase your value. It's not helping you increase your net worth, right? On the other hand, if I get if I identify a rental property, because I'm in property, right? If I identify an investment property and I take a loan on that, that's still credit, right? Now the question is, will that credit result in me getting richer or my net worth increasing? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then that's good credit. So credit is good or bad dependent on how you behave with it, depending on your attitude. So forget about the false assumption to say all credit is bad, guys. It's not bad. It's dependent on how you treat it, what your behavior towards it is, right? And I always say credit is a new currency. It's the new dollar, the new rand. And the reason I say that is because nowadays you literally can't do anything without your credit, right? For instance, you want to go get your house, you want to buy a house, you're most likely going to need credit, right? Because not a lot of people have got R1,000,000 saved up there. Let's not even use R1,000,000 rand, 300,000. Let's assume the house that you're buying is 300,000 rand, right? Not a lot of people have got 300,000 saved up. And if you do have 300,000 saved up, the question is, how long did it take you to save up 300,000, right? So, listen, guys, unless you're earning a crazy salary and you're a high net worth individual, you're most likely going to have to take a bond to qualify for that house, right? Because like I say, it's difficult saving 300,000, or it's difficult saving money, right? In light of the lifestyle that you have and everything that's going on, right? I mean, do a calculation, for instance. Let's say if you wanted to save up 300,000 and you gave yourself, let's say you gave yourself 5 years to save up 300,000. The question is, 5 years is 60 months. How much do you have to be saving every single month for you to get to 300,000 in 5 years? That's just 300,000, it's not even half a million, right? And it'll probably mean that you would have to, I mean, if you're saving 5,000 rand a month for 12 months, that's what? That's 60,000. Times that by 5, you're not even at 300,000 yet. So the question is, will you get there with purely saving? Probably, yeah, you can get there. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying it's bloody hard. It's bloody hard. There's a lot that you have to sacrifice, right? So buying your house, most likely is going to need you to take out credit. Buying a vehicle, most likely going to require you to take out credit. There are guys that save up for cars, which is good, but like again, if you pressed to buy a car and you're under pressure, you need to buy it now, you're most likely going to take credit. Most people take credit. There are more people that have bought cars on credit than those have stayed up, right? If you are looking to finish off your studies or to study, you're probably going to take out a student loan. That's credit, guys. If you, I don't know if you know, but even if you're looking for a job, you're most likely going to need credit because your employer wants to know whether or not them employing you will not get you into a position where you're stealing money from them to try subsidize or to try complement your lifestyle. So your employer wants to know. That's why they want to find out about your credit history, right? They want to know how have you handled your credit because it impacts the attitude that you would have towards your employment, right? You even need credit if you're just looking for rental, right? If you're just looking to rent a property. Why? Because your landlord most likely wants to find out if you'll be paying them on time. And the best way for them to judge whether or not you'll be settling your rental on time is to look at your credit history. Because if you've been a good student or you've been behaving good with paying your credit, you've got a good track record, then they're most likely gonna allow you to stay in their property because why? You've proven yourself. So credit is the new currency, guys. It's the new dollar. It's the new rand. You need it, right? I'm not saying you can live without it. I'm just saying it's pretty much tough to live without credit. So might as well just understand it. Understand the power that it possesses. And for you to understand credit, you need to understand the concept of leverage. Right, so let's go deeper into the concept of leverage. So, I mean, if you have a person with a finance or an accounting background, you're probably familiar with the concept, with the term, and it's been thrown around a lot. And I'm going to try to break it down into layman terms, try and make it simple for wonke umuntu, and I hope that you understand this. So, leverage, think of a seesaw. Seesaw. Yini seesaw ngesiZulu. King yeah, seesaw. So the swing that has two sides and basically balances and it will either tilt on whichever side depending on which side is heavier. A seesaw. So it goes as follows, right? And with the seesaw, there's most likely going to be a heavier side and there's going to be a lighter side, right? And the seesaw will tilt towards the heavier side, right? And that's pretty much how it works. So think of that as leverage. The seesaw, think of that as leverage, right? And on the one side of the seesaw, let's say the right-hand side, let's say there is credit, there's debt, liability, whichever you want to call it. That's the one side of the seesaw. The other side of the seesaw, you've got an asset, right? So on day one, and let's make an example of your bond, right? On day one, when you take out that bond to buy your house, right? So remember, you'll take out a mortgage bond, you go to the bank and you qualify, you get your mortgage bond and you buy your house. So the loan, the mortgage is the liability. Your house is the asset. So on day one, you owe the bank more than what the asset is worth on day one, right? Because you took out, let's assume you took out 100% bond. So what's going to happen is the seesaw is going to tilt to the liability side because the liability is heavier on day one, right? But what happens is that over time, you're gradually paying off this liability through the installments that you're making every single month. So as and when you pay the liability, and what happens to your asset, your house? it gains momentum, right? Your equity starts building up. So over time, the seesaw is tilting in favor of the asset. It's tilting in favor of the asset. Why? Because you are paying your installments and it's reducing your liability but increasing your asset or your equity, right? So that's the relationship that your bond will have, and that's what is called leverage, right? Where you're buying an asset, which is your house, and you're using a debt to buy it, which is the bond, right? Because at the point in which you finish paying off this house, now you're going to be left with no liability and you're going to be left with the house, right? Then it's just an asset. So that's the concept of leverage, guys. Think about that seesaw when you talk leverage, right? And why that is important is because when you leverage your credit, it helps you to get access to capital, right? It helps you to build wealth, right? And for instance, guys, let's assume you have a credit card. You've got a credit card of 50,000 Rand. I love making examples of credit cards because I love credit cards. You've got a credit card of 50,000 Rand and you've got a choice, like I say, whether you're using it for good or bad purposes is 100% dependent on your attitude towards it and your behavior, right? You got a choice. You can take that 50,000 Rand credit card and go on a spending spree. Buy yourself nice clothes, designer clothes, the brands and the likes and everything. Go on holiday, on trips, just go out on a ball, just go out on a spending spree. You can do that. There's nothing stopping you, right? But the question is, what would you have gained at the end of the 50,000 after you've spent it? Would you have increased your value? Is there an asset at the end of this thing? And if the answer is no, then that was bad because you didn't increase anything and you did not leverage yourself, right? If I take that same 50,000 Rand credit card, same terms, same company, same everything, but I go and I place 50,000 Rand deposit on a house that I'm purchasing. Now the question is that house, if it's a rental property, is it going to add value to me? And the answer is yes. Right? So I've leveraged myself. I've bought myself an asset using that credit card, using the liability. So that I've leveraged myself, guys. And I promise you guys, I've been in property since about 2015, 2016, more or less. So and in the last couple of years, guys, I've been in, let's say, over 10 million worth of property deals, right? And I kid you, I promise you when I say that the percentage of my own money that I've used in the last 5 years is less than 100,000. So what I'm saying is that I've been in over 10 million worth of property deals in the last 5 years and I've used less than 1% of my own cash. I promise you guys, right? I've leveraged myself, right? And how have I been able to do that? Through the concept of leverage, guys. I go and I take out a liability or debt for the purposes of acquiring this asset. And then over time, I want to pay off this liability and I'm going to be left with an asset, guys. And that's how you build wealth, guys. You don't, it's very difficult for you to just build wealth through savings. I mean, don't get me wrong, savings are good. I do save as well. But I don't save for the purposes of buying my assets. I save for the purposes of having excess cash when I need it, right? All my property deals, every single property deal that I've been in today, I've used other people's money. There's a concept called OPM, other people's money. And you get to know that when you're in investments because the power of building wealth, guys, the power of credit lies, the power of building wealth lies in you understanding the power of credit. The minute you understand how to use other people's money, and when I mean other people's money, I mean the bank's money. The bank's money is not your money. Investors' money, it's not your money. Everybody's money that is not yours, that is helping you build this asset, but then you'll also be able to pay them back once you've generated the income that you need with the money that they borrowed you. That's called leveraging yourself, right? And that's the power of credit. And the reason why I love property so much is that there's not a lot of asset classes that allow you to leverage in such an easy way, right? For instance, it's very difficult if you want to buy stocks, if you want to buy shares. It's difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's difficult for you to go to the bank and say to them, please borrow me 500,000 so that I can go buy shares, right? No bank is going to give you 500,000 to buy shares. You probably have to come up with a story around that to say, okay, no, maybe give me a personal loan and I go buy shares with that. But you can't outright go to the bank and say, give me 500,000 so I can buy shares. But I can't go to the bank and say, can you please borrow me 500,000 to go buy a house, right? And they'll happily give it to me. They've been giving it to me all these years. So the property is beautiful in that way, in that you can literally get into property without spending a cent of your own money. Like I said, I've spent less than 1% of my own cash, guys, since I've been in the game. And that's the beauty of leverage. That's the beauty of understanding the power of credit, guys. So understand how to use other people's money. Like I say, guys, I mean, I take the 10 that 50,000 rand credit card. So how I would perform a property deal is, let's assume I'm buying a property for 2 million, right? I go to the bank and and apply for a bond, and let's assume the bond says, or rather the bank says, I'll give you 80% bond on the property that you're looking to acquire, and 80% of 2 million is what, 1.6 million. So the bank says, I'll give you 1.6 million. Now I'm stuck. I need to raise that other 500,000 or the 400,000. What I do is I go back to the bank again and then say, okay, how much can you give me on that credit card? They say, hey, I'll give you 100,000 on credit card. I still need to raise another 400,000, another 300,000. I go back to them and say, okay, I've exhausted my credit card. What else can you give me? I can give you an overdraft of how much? Of 100,000. Okay, thank you. I'm left with 200,000. What else can you give me? I can give you a personal loan of 200,000. I've literally raised the entire 2 million from the bank's money, from other people's money. And what do I then do after that? I get the property, I get tenants in, tenants pay me the rent, I take the rent, I pay off the bank. Over a couple of years, I'm finished paying off this bond. Now I'm sitting with an asset, and I've extinguished, I've completed paying the bond. And that's how you leverage yourself, guys. Don't take that credit card and go on a spending spree, guys. It is not worth it. Like, for me, the concept I have is that literally I've got no credit account with any store whatsoever, right? Because my philosophy is that if you can't afford to buy clothes on credit, or rather, if you can't afford to buy clothes on cash, then you can't afford to buy the clothes. Don't buy clothes on credit. Don't buy anything on credit that's not adding value to your life, that's not bringing in income, because then it's categorized as bad credit. So understand that, guys, and I promise you, once you understand that, it will make your life so much easier. You'll start building wealth, because that's the whole idea, guys, of my channel. The whole idea of everything that I speak about is for us to help ourselves build wealth. We need to be building wealth. We need to be thinking investment. We need to be thinking asset building. We need to be thinking ownership. And credit helps us get there faster, but only if you understand it, right? Don't misuse credit for stuff that is not going to help you build that wealth, right? We're talking generational wealth. We're talking leaving stuff for your kids and the generation of tomorrow, right? And credit helps us do that, but only by understanding it, guys. Credit is not bad. Let's forget about the myths that have been taught to us. You just need to understand it, just like anything in life that needs to be understood. It's bad until you understand it. And I've gone on a journey of understanding it, and I'm at a point now where I'm comfortable with the amount of credit that I have. I kid you not, guys. If you had to look at my credit card limits, you'd be shocked. A lot of people are saying you so overexposed, and so I'm like, unless you understand what you're doing, guys, you'll never understand why I've got so much credit, right? And like I say, guys, saving is good. I'm an advocate for saving. I do save, but save for the right reasons, guys, because the savings are not going to make you rich. The savings are not going to build you wealth. I have a lot of friends that come to me and say, Calvin, I want to be in property, and we've been saving for X number of years, and we're eventually going to want to buy ourselves our first property. I'm like, that's good. That's one way of doing it. But the question is, how long is it going to take you to save up for your first property? In the same period of time that it's taking you to save up to buy your first property cash, I've acquired 5. Literally, I've acquired 5, right? So understand the power of credit, guys. And once you do that, I promise you, your Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle. So this brings us to the end of our credit series, guys. And I promise you, if you just revisit all those videos and understand them, you will be a credit expert. Credit expert. Just read up on it, find out more, and I promise you, once you understand that, your life becomes easier, because you don't go into silly deals. You don't go into silly transactions for no reason. And this brings us to the end of our credit series, guys. Once again, this is your boy Calvin. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys. Subscribe, share, comment. I'll definitely attend to your comments, and let's learn together. Let's join the journey. Let's learn together, and let's make sure that this family grows, guys. I appreciate your support once again. This is your boy Calvin, your StratMed investor. Ready.